Well, hello, everybody.
Sorry.
I think it's afternoon for most of us, but it may be morning for some of us. I'm awfully glad to see so many of you. I see your names, you see us, but we're going to go away in just a minute and let you see some material about the conference sponsorships. Um, I will tell you that I am going to monitor the questions section. So if you will look over here and find the category where it says questions, you are welcome to type something in there, and we'll bring it up in the course of the presentation. We will also have a Q&A opportunity at the end. I just have to wonder if the dump truck is coming into the.
It's me. It's like right outside my window. Hold on.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, you all, I hope, are seeing a lovely photograph of rocking chairs on a wonderful porch outside by a lake. And I will have to let Erika tell you about it in a minute. But this is the photograph that she sent me to illustrate the fact that location matters. Conference location matters. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to sign up and go to there. So with no further ado, I think I know most of you, but let me introduce myself. My name is Ruth Ann Rugg. I am transitional leader for COSMA. I also work part-time for the Texas Association of Museums, and it is the Texas Association of Museums that I have to thank for allowing us to use their webinar platform. So thanks, you guys. I am joined today by our colleague from New York, Erika Sanger. Erika has a long background in museum and association work and development work, and she has done a terrific job up in New York. So I am going to let her tell more about what it is that they do. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is turn myself off. So hopefully my picture goes away. And you guys just help me welcome Erika.
Hi, I still don't see the list of people, but welcome everybody. I know we're probably in lots of different time zones. We are midday here, high tide on the Hudson River, and the beeping that you were hearing is that they're repairing what they call the seawall, where the river comes into the town's main parking lot. So lots of construction right outside my window. I want to start off by thanking everybody for joining us today. And what I'm going to present is where the Museum Association of New York is now with our conference sponsorship program. We'll go back a little bit to where we were, going back about 5 years, and try to present the case of how we've gotten to where we are. I also want to talk about that before I got to the Museum Association of New York, I was working in leadership in several different museums, but I had taken a chunk of time out of the museum world and was working for an art school in North Carolina as their director of development. In that position, I was very fortunate to attend the Williamsburg Training Institute in development, and I got a lot of development training that was sponsored by the North Carolina Council on the Arts. So when I came to the Museum Association, a lot of the development work that I've applied here comes out of that training as opposed to more museum education training or museum grant writing training. I find that I'm mostly drawing on the work that I did as a development director. So I want to say a little bit also about what the Museum Association of New York looks like now. The Museum Association of New York now is a product of a merger of two smaller service organizations that merged between 2012 and 2014. And we have doubled our membership in the past 3 years. And that's because of a lot of outreach that we're conducting across the state. I report to a board that has as many as 25 board members, and I have boots on the ground in each of our states region that really has helped us make a difference. So we're now sitting at about 650 members. About 400 plus of them are museums, about 50 of them are industry members, and about 150 of them are individuals. And the individuals can be retired museum professionals, can be professors, or in the case of some place, a very large museum like the New York State Museum, 12 of their staff are individual members separately from the New York State Museum. So we're going to present information from my perspective, but I hope that it's going to benefit everyone, whether or not you have a conference, whether or not you have as many members as I do. I think what I'm going to share might be really helpful. So we're going to look at 3 different kinds of conference sponsorships, and then I'm going to go over a financial statement. So we break down our sponsors into 3 different categories, actually 4, but we'll get there. One is exhibit hall vendors, the second is event sponsors, and then the third are just people who can advertise. So if we go to that first slide, which
Okay,
has
Erika,
the picture of
I'm
the State Museum, yeah?
I'm going to need you to turn off your camera.
I
So
will turn off my
the
camera. That's
slides.
great.
Thank
And we
you.
will go hide all webcams. Yay. No, people can still see me. Stop sharing my webcam. Now I'm gone. Yes, yay.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
So now, let's go to the next picture. You all saw the picture of the Otis Saga's porch, which was gorgeous. Right, if we go to the next one, next slide with the State Museum on it.
Hang on
Yeah,
just
up,
a second.
up,
I keep,
go
there you go.
left, that's it, okay. So we have been alternating between beautiful rural spaces that are hard to get to, but create kind of a resort environment into inner city places. So in 2020, we're going to be in downtown Albany. The picture you are looking at is the New York State Museum. And under those arches, you see that bank of windows. That is going to be our vendor hall. That's the fourth floor of the State Museum. There's a giant carousel in the back, but the whole front hallway is open. And it's a very, very large space. It could be upwards of 5,000 square feet. And we'll be able to serve lunch in there, and we're predicting that we could have between 40 and 50 vendor tables in that area. So exhibit hall vendors, are people who feel like they want to sit at a table in a public area and talk to conference attendees about their products and services. People who
Erika,
hello.
well, there you are. Hello.
Okay, hello. At what point did you lose me? Hi. Okay, let's type it in the chat. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, okay. So anyway, I know just talking about vendors, exhibit hall vendors. So how do we find them? I have found exhibit hall vendors by going to other conferences. I go to the Mid-Atlantic Association of Museums. I go to building museums. I go to the Greater Hudson Heritage Network, and I go to AAM. And just for instance, at the AAM Expo in May in New Orleans, I spent more than 5 hours in that vendor area talking to every vendor that was either from New York State or had an office in New York State, telling them why it was important for them to come to my conference in Albany and be a sponsor. I went during the quiet hours. I can say that I saw very few of the presentations at AAM. My investment in going to AAM is networking and meeting people during events and talking to the vendors that are there. When we look at exhibit hall vendors, I come armed with some information, right? I tell them that 25 to 30% of my conference attendees are the decision makers about purchasing within their institutions. I let them know that, you know, I have more attendees than national and regional conferences. Um, and you know, that often determines whether or not someone will come. Sometimes I carry swag with me, and I'll show you some swag when we're done with the PowerPoint. We'll turn the cameras on. We're going to go through, and I think, Ruth Ann, if you can click to the next slide,
Okay.
that might be a good place to jump in. Oh, there you go. So the sponsor benefits are stacked by types of opportunities and benefits. So Sunday keynote address will be the top level. The platinum will be someone who is sponsoring a presentation or our cocktail hour or our night of play or transportation. You know, we sometimes rent buses to take people around, and we are not unknown to put banners on the sides of buses and signs in bus windows. The platinum, you can see, will come with conference registrations, will come with an advertisement, will come with a podium time, will come with that corporate affiliate membership, a free table in the exhibit area, plus listings on all of the materials that we can give them. The gold is, you know, one fewer and a half-page ad. But if we go skip all the way down to the bronze level, it's a complimentary registration, but it doesn't have a space in the exhibitor area. And so, you know, people who are sponsoring us at the bronze level, and we have quite a few of them, are people who are independent graphic designers and independent museum exhibitors or consultants who want their business in front of the conference attendees, but don't want to sit at a table. So that's the basic breakdown, and we can go back to this a little later on. When we look at sponsors, Ruth Ann, if you could just go to the next slide, I just want to see what that looks like. Right, okay. So that gives you an idea of, you know, advertising specifics are really important. As well as what the tables will be and what we can provide, what our pricing is. We do give discounts to nonprofit organizations who will take booths with us. Last year, the way our conference hotel was divided, we were able to put all of our nonprofit exhibitors in one room and all of our corporate exhibitors in another room, and that worked really well. Each room had its own sensibility. And then really specifics about schedules are important, like when do they have to be there ready to go and when can they break down. Very important to them. So we are going to be giving them 2 almost full days of time in the in those exhibit halls. We will do things like put lunch in the exhibit hall. We will put coffee breaks in the exhibit hall to try to create time when the conference attendees can interact with the vendors. What do sponsors want? How have we increased sponsorship? There's someone who has doubled their sponsorship every year for the last 3 years. She started just as an exhibitor, and then she went up a level, and then she went up even to sponsor our night of play. And what she really wanted to, why she wanted to do that, well, she wanted that podium time. She wanted to be able to stand in front of a room of 400 people and say why it was important to her that she had chosen to serve the museum community, that she had followed that track and wanted to thank everybody for the work they were doing and say why she could be helpful to them. So um, that's kind of what those event sponsors are really looking for. They want to get out in front. You know, there have been events where I have not had quote unquote official sponsors. And in that case, for instance, we've turned the event over to someone like the Lieutenant Governor or the director of I Love New York Tourism for New York State, and given those people who are very important to the field those opportunities. So those are event sponsors. And then I'll show the swag and the tote bag. Again, you can see the next page. Ruth Ann, if you could click to the next page, does that have? No, I think that's the right. So when someone fills in the sponsorship form, we're asking them to identify who they are. And that's really important. We also separate out the charge from this page because in a kind of sneaky way, we want them to think about who they want to come up in front of as opposed to how much it might actually talk. Where we do reiterate the prices is down by the advertisements. So advertising, you know, opportunities in our conference program, we were surprised how popular they were. So for instance, we have a number of university presses in New York State who will help museums publish catalogs. They take advertisements all the time. They can't afford to send their staff people to a conference. Actually, it's only I only have one consistent exhibitor who is a university press, but other university presses will take advertisements because they're promoting their ability to produce catalogs for museums. Timing, yep, strict deadlines apply. We give people deadlines and the actual deadline is 2 or 3 days later because people will consistently miss deadlines. We're now working with a super fabulous printer who has a much quicker turnaround time than another printer I've used in the past. So that's given us some leeway. The more flexible your printer is, the longer time you will have to produce your programs and your signage and things like that. The signage at the venue is actually really important, so that if someone sponsors our Awards of Merit program, their name is not only in the program booklet and their name is listed on our app because we have an in-kind, we have an app that's an in-kind donation from one of our sponsors, but we put signage in the room at which the event takes place where their logo is on the signage. We've been looking hard, and it depends on the space we have this year for our keynotes, but I was looking at someone who does a slideshow of sponsor logos before their keynote starts. So as you're waiting for the keynote to start, you're seeing this rotating slideshow, and that's a really high visibility point. And I don't know if we're going to do it and just roll it out this year and then try to promote it more next year. So you see the advertising charges there, cash or in-kind sponsorships. So let's go to that next slide, Ruth Ann. Let's just see, is the next slide the money slide?
Yes, it is.
It is. Okay, can I turn on my webcam again just for a second? Share my webcam.
And then when
People
you get to
can't
the
see me.
stopping place, we have some
Yeah.
good questions. We have some
Oh,
good
good.
questions.
Okay. So can people see me now? They should be able to, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in-kind donations. So we have a partnership with I Love New York, and they don't give me any money. They can't give me any money. They used to give me money, but what they can do is they provide our conference swag. So this year we got this lovely notebook, and it was actually super valuable, and everyone loved the notebook. People still like paper. And then the year before, we got these great bags, which we still have a bunch of them. So this is an in-kind donation that is really valuable because they'll make 500 or 600 of them for us that we will give out at our conference, and it will, you know, have life beyond the conference, which is really important. So stopping place questions before we go on to numbers. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, before we get into the numbers, let's talk for a minute. Our friend from Virginia, Jennifer Thomas, has asked, well, she said one of the auditors that they've used in the past had a problem with them offering free registration for sponsors. Has anyone else had a problem with that?
It's part of the package. Yeah.
Okay, well, if anybody else listening out there has had some experience with that, write it down. I know Jennifer would love to hear. Our friend from California, Celeste DeWald, have you gotten any feedback from exhibitors on 2-day exhibit hall versus 1-day exhibit hall?
They want more than 1 day. That's all I can tell you. They were not happy the last time we gave them 1 day. I think when we look at numbers, we can see that jump when I went, and part of that jump will be explained going from a 1 day to a day and a half and then a full 2 days. Yeah.
Okay, and then Jennifer also said that if someone needs an app rec, she can share hers. And also, there are several who have chimed in to say that they have had no problem giving registrations to sponsors. And then, boy, Jennifer found her button. Jennifer said that this year they're trying a 1 day this year. So let's look at numbers. Why not?
Okay, so I can just look on screen. I don't know. Can you see my pointer on the screen? And I'll shut myself off, right? I have to shut myself off.
You have to turn your
Stop
camera
sharing. Okay.
There you go.
So, okay. So what you're looking at on the far left-hand side is 2019. So the $39,500 on the top line is January to December 2019. On the far right-hand side, that 13,163.75 is 2014. So we're looking at 6 years of numbers. The 2014 number, the $13,000 on sponsorship, if you go all the way to the bottom, Ruth Ann, under total income, netted, oops.
Oops, there you go.
Netted,
Yeah.
there we go, right? So that netted total net right, into total income, not total net, total income into the institution of $50,000 to produce um, the conference. So in 6 years, we have tripled conference income. How do we do that? If we go back up to the top line, if you notice the jump between 13,000 and 29,000, that's taking it from 13,000. We were in 13,000 in 2014. We were in downtown Syracuse, New York, small city, except that it was a hotel closer to the airport. So highly affordable location, aesthetically not desirable. In 2015, which is the $29,900 number, the conference moved to Corning, New York, and the conference was largely held at the Corning Museum of Glass. When the conference moved to the Corning Museum of Glass in 2015, it also came with a $10,000 grant from Corning Incorporated. And that grant ran 2015, 2016, 2017, as you moved left across the board. So the last year of that $10,000 grant is the number that's $22,700 as you go left. So that meant that the amount of money being raised from corporate sponsorships in 2015 was 19,000, in 2016 was 14,000, and in 2017 was 12,700. Those 3 years were also 3 years that the Museum Association contracted a special events person to do the corporate fundraising. So this is just a cautionary note. People who think that it might serve their institutions well not to put in the employee time and turn the fundraising over to a consultant or a special events person. I would just think about how you have lost the relationship and contact with your vendors and turned it over to someone else. In January 2018, we brought the, which is the January 2018 sponsorship number is 29,490. I did not have the $10,000 from Corning. That is an actual jump from 12,700 to 29,490 in conference sponsorships. And that was the year that I worked incredibly hard to reestablish our connections. I also got someone here on staff who had worked in the hotel industry, and her expertise was incredibly important. And then last year was the 39,500 jump.
Erika?
So, yep.
We have a question about some of your designations over here, if I can interrupt.
Yes, absolutely.
Over on the left, about midway down, contributed income, you have fundraising, there's silent auction, fundraiser, fundraiser other, and fundraiser annual conference. What does that last one mean?
Right. So the fundraiser annual conference, and if you look down the third column over where there's a 29,000 that's hanging out above a 9, those two should really be combined. Those are two separate fundraising dinners that we hold. And then the big jump from the 17 to the 24,000 was we added a cocktail party. So by the time, so 17,745 was a cocktail. We added the cocktail party, and then the 24 we also did cocktail party. Cocktail party was very, 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 very successful. We sold out both years. We've done cocktail parties. So the actual amount of money that we're making off of the fundraising dinners is not tremendous. Throw in that cocktail party and it really boosted what we were doing. Um, so yeah, I was about to open it up to other questions. Any other questions?
Well, there are no new questions on the question pane, but maybe
Okay,
we
good.
need to give them time to write. Oh, here's one. Jonna McEntee asked, can you tell us more about the cocktail party?
Yeah. So the
And
so
can
the
we be
cock
invited?
yes, come to the cocktail party. So we were very fortunate the last 2 years to be in hotel environments where a cocktail party was able to be added um, in what was formerly in the past was an informal cocktail hour. So that I noticed that people who attended the conference kind of swarmed the hotel bar beginning at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon in between dinner. In between the last session and dinner, the hotel bars got swamped, and could not accommodate everyone fast enough, no matter how many times we warned the hotel that they needed to put enough bartenders on. So we constructed a cocktail party in a separate room with a very low admission, $25, and and that was it. There were two specialty cocktails and some snacks, and lots of people came because they didn't have to wait in line in a bar. You came in and the drinks were on the bar, and you went and you picked up your cocktail pre-mixed. And then when those were gone, they poured another round, you know. So it got people to the cocktails very quickly, and they were very happy, and they didn't mind paying $25 because in New York, you know, you get two cocktails for $25. It's a bargain, especially if it comes with like tater tots.
There's another question that says, I'm not sure I understand your caution about outsourcing event planning. Can you
Right,
repeat that? Which
right.
vendors did you lose a relationship with? Thank you. I'm not sure it was vendors. I think it may have, well, actually, I'll let you
Yeah,
answer your own question.
yeah. No, it was vendors. It was vendors, because the vendors knew the institution. And then instead of dealing with the director or the chairman of the board of the Museum Association of New York, they were suddenly dealing with someone who they didn't know, even though they said they were working for us, and they were speaking on behalf of the organization. They were not getting the attention or building the relationship with the institution. They were building the relationship with the special event coordinator. My cautionary tale comes from something that actually happened, which we still don't understand, and I'll just share because that's what we do. Um, so there's a group, I'm not going to remember the name, but it's like the Association of Finger Lake Winery Owners, right? So New York State has this huge wine region in the Finger Lakes. And the Finger Lakes Wine Association used to donate all of the wine for one of my fundraising dinners. And they would donate, you know, 3 glasses of wine a person, one with a salad, one with the meal, and one uh, for the dessert, and they'd pick the dessert wine and they'd work with the caterer, et cetera, et cetera. So when we turned over the fundraising dinners to the special event coordinator, she developed the relationship with the Finger Lakes Wine Association. When I severed that relationship with the special event coordinator, the Finger Lakes Wine Association said that they were exclusively working with the special events coordinator and would not make any donations to Manny unless I was working with that special events coordinator. So I lost um, a very valuable connection, as well as the people who would not sponsor me because they didn't feel like they were connected to the organization. Does that make sense? Did I answer the question?
Yes. Hey, here's a question about pricing.
Yep.
Do you ever feel like you're charging too much or charging too little? How do you determine what, what value to give for what dollars?
um, I don't think we're charging too much yet. My program book keeps on growing, and I sold out my vendor area 2 years in a row, and I increased my prices 2 years in a row. So I don't think I've charged too much yet. Charging too little, yeah, when I was selling out my spaces, I'm not charging enough, right? So we don't plan to increase the charge um, this year, 2020 over 2019. The fees will remain the same because Albany, downtown Albany, the hotels are more expensive. So the vendors are going to be a little miffed that they have to pay more money to stay in the hotels. So we're going to keep that number flat because I don't want to hit them twice.
Gotcha. More questions? I'm watching my time here. Uh,
Yeah,
as you think of questions, write them down and we will come
yeah,
back to this part in the Q&A. How about that, Erica?
that's great.
Okay. Well, let's hear from the other side. How about? We reached out to some of the people who seem to be always at our conferences. Some of them are vendors, some of them are service providers, and we just wanted to know what makes you choose this conference. How do you choose between so many, and what is it that makes it important to you to be there? So I'm going to play a couple of videos, and I hope you all can hear it. We struggled with that a little earlier. Here goes from our friends at Mid-America Arts Alliance.
Hi, it's Margaret Keogh and Amanda Wiltsey from Mid-America Arts Alliance in Kansas City. We're home to Exhibits USA and NEH on the road. So thanks for having us here today.
Yeah, and I know that you guys want to know 2 questions: why we participate in certain conferences, and how do we decide what conferences to attend. So when we're looking at conferences to participate in, we really look at connections with museum professionals and how many of those connections we can make.
We're trying to make as many with people we work with and people we haven't yet worked with. So those are both key elements. So why do we choose the ones we attend? First, we'd love to go to everybody's conference, but there's simply just not enough time and money and other resources to get us all across the country as much as we'd like. So we do look at that map of places we've served and places where there's a lot of opportunity. So we are consciously trying to mix up the conferences we go to each year so we can make those connections. And I know connections with decision makers is key.
Yes, connections with decision makers is key. Although quantity is important, we really want to be able to make those connections with people that at the end of the day are making buying decisions.
And it can be when they're in the exhibit hall or at those nighttime events. Just have those events where people can feel comfortable and at times feel social with us as well.
Yeah, those are great events that really can make our conference experience is those events that are taking place on the trade show floor, whether it's a meal break or a coffee break, anything that you can do to entice those attendees to visit us on the trade show floor. That's really valuable time.
And we also really appreciate a museum association that sees us as a resource. We have a lot of museum experience here at Mid-America Arts Alliance, whether we've worked in museums on the other side of the table or we've worked with thousands of museums across the country. So we have a lot of experience and honestly resources we bring to the museums that we work with. So those are some of the reasons why we decide to go where we go. You know, have we been there in a while? Can we connect to as many people as we can? And, you know, are people seeing this as a resource and want to talk to us while we're there? So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Daniel Bronin. I am the Principal Consultant for Resilient Heritage, a firm I started in 2014. I am, a frequent conference goer. I sit on various museum type boards, which push me to conference opportunities across the country as well as across the world. And one of the things that I look for in terms of not-for-profit based conferences is really the mix of people at these conferences, whether they be funders or entities from arts and culture based organizations, whether they be executive directors or sort of mid-level managers. I really actually like to meet everyone because I think it really makes for a conducive environment through which people can really build relationships, learn new things, as well as strengthen existing relationships that they already have. I founded my firm in 2014, as I said, and so I think meeting with existing clients at these conferences is a really great way for me to strengthen those relationships and to continue working with my current clients, but also it's a way for me to leverage those relationships as well and to partner with new organizations for new projects and opportunities. So, if I'm considering contributing in any way, giving my time or my resources to conference, I really consider ways that we can continue the conversation, particularly in arts and culture, but also ways that I feel like my time is also valued. And I certainly think that arts and culture conferences are a really great way to start doing that.
Erika, would you like to speak to this one?
Sure. So Gaylord Archival is a conference sponsor and also sponsors our workshops and meetups that we do around the state throughout the year. One of their head salesmen, a man named John Moretti, brings products and gift certificates and lots of little things. He has a small portable version of a case they call Frank, and we have Frank time trials. So who can take apart and put Frank together back the fastest wins a gift certificate, and it's usually like teams of curators compete. He helps make our events fun. Sometimes he gives out little dolls, brings this whole other level to it. And many of you might have, seen him at some of the national conferences. I know he does the regional conferences. He's given us really big product discounts. So he's someone that the relationship really makes a difference to, because he's in it for the long haul. He's just not, okay, we're gonna do this now. Let's see how this goes. He's a long-term supporter and a long-time supporter. So he didn't do a video, but he did just write this little testimony, which I thought was super sweet. So.
Okay, time for questions again. And I have one. I think perhaps the most frequently spoken word that I heard from our supporters is relationship. I mean, they truly view this as a relationship with the State Museum Association. And I wonder if there are ideas you have for how to feed that relationship at times other than when you're putting together your conference. I mean, you can't wait until the very last minute to exercise a relationship. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Me?
Yeah.
So for instance, I'll just use Gaylord. Gaylord gave us a half price purchase on 6 sets of 12 frames for a group of museums in New York State who are hosting a Museum on Main Street exhibition from the Smithsonian. And the 12 frames are being used by each institution to supplement the Smithsonian's exhibition. So we are going to be taking installation shots of those museum exhibitions showing Gaylord's frames that then they will be able to use in promotional materials.
Very good.
So that's us giving back to Gaylord, right?
The other thing that I heard our guests speak about was how important it is to have contact with the decision makers.
Yep.
And I know you have the kind of metrics available when you are talking to a potential vendor to be able to tell them how many directors might be present, how many collections managers when there are products in that line. How do you maintain that information?
It's part of our post-conference survey, and it's when they register, we ask them for their titles.
Just that simple, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are there other questions from the crowd? Well, I don't see any.
Okay.
But you know what? I think I can probably speak for them when I say thank you for sharing your expertise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, why don't you come back on the screen for just a minute so we can all see your smiling face. There's mine. It's very big. There we go. Listen, our COSMA audience is incredibly patient with our learning in the technology realm. But one of the things that I hope you will take away from Erika's presentation is not only the really good basic information, but that she is willing to share with you both the victories and the defeats, that the way that we learn from one another is in knowing not only what works, but in what doesn't work. So I would just encourage you to continue with that attitude of openness towards one another, and join me. Thank you, Erika. You did great. So it's a busy time of year. School is starting. It's hot, hot, hot.
Not here.
I had two colleagues contact me this morning to say how something had come up. They were not able to join us. So do remember that the webinars are recorded and are available on the COSMA website. So if you have people that you think would benefit from what we heard today, please send them there.
And all y'all are welcome to come to Albany. Come to Albany and watch. See, we'd love to have you. Bye.